Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today I want to teach you how Valheim has changed. Not necessarily Valheim itself, more so the potential. People have said that Valheim is a sandbox game, but I'm not sure that most Valheim players actually realize just how much of a sandbox game Valheim has become. You see, these days, it's possible to just put a couple scripts on a server, not even know how to code, and create fundamentally different experiences. Things that you think are only possible with mods. But why is this such a big deal? And honestly, I don't know if I can find the words to explain it to you. I'll just explain what happened to me. Maybe that'll work better. I've always liked Valheim. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't say I liked it this much. I wouldn't say it was something that I felt I could easily make content about for years without getting bored of it. I didn't think it was something that could become this meaningful to me. Definitely not. I always thought that vanilla Valheim was enough, but in all honesty, maybe I was wrong. I mean, now that I see just how much the game becomes a sandbox, how much you can create a unique community based on experiences, once you start adjusting and altering things, it really makes me wonder. Myself, like I think many people, would love to make games, that's something people dream about. And for me personally, I've spent so many years of my life sort of gearing towards having advantages so I can make games, but ultimately I was confronted with the reality that I wasn't actually practicing game development on a regular day-to-day basis. And for most of my life, that's how it was. I was playing games and I loved to learn from them and study game mechanics, and I knew I wanted to make games, but I wasn't able to break in and start practicing, I tried. But ultimately, none of the efforts to code and program and learn game design and get myself to the point where I'm practicing actually panned out for me personally. And eventually, I focused a lot more on content creation, even though my actual long-term interest is game design. And that's what's so crazy about the EWP experience. I think for a lot of people, you don't really plan it. EWP has this way of getting you. I don't know how to describe it, but some people call it the EWP bug. There's this latent creative energy inherently lurking within Valheim that just isn't unleashed effectively by the way the game is accessible to normal people. But the moment you start using Yair's mods, for some people it's Infinity Hammer, for people like me it was Expand World Prefabs, that all changes. In my case, it started really simple. I didn't get the server to start customizing stuff and scripting and practicing game design. I didn't realize that was going to happen. That wasn't part of any kind of plan that I had worked on. It's what's happening, but it's not like I made it happen. It really is almost as if the server and the world all has almost a life of its own. It becomes a community experience. You eventually get so deep into the scripting that you've forgotten about the other scripts that you've made, and the scripts start overlapping. And then things that you don't understand or think are possible start happening because a script interacts with another script that caused something else to happen, and sometimes it's a catastrophic issue. But other times, it's a game-changing mechanic that's so fun it fundamentally alters what you thought was enjoyable about Valheim. And now that I've yapped for a while, I'll get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty, because I know if you're here at this point, you really mean it. Now, I'm going to show you why it's so powerful to run a server that you can completely customize and adjust based on the experiences that you're having and other people are having. I don't know how to say it in another way, so I'll be blunt, but there's a kind of publicity problem with Iron Gate and Valheim and us as players. And for me, it's heartbreaking, because I understand from Iron Gate's perspective, and I also understand from the player's perspective, because there's many reasons that the players have to feel sort of betrayed and let down. And I don't blame them for that. But also, I understand how Iron Gate got in completely and utterly over their heads and were overwhelmed by it, and in a way that I don't know if they love Valheim in the same way as a result of all the attention and what it means. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's been my gut. And so that's what's so crazy about Expand World Prefabs, for me personally, is that the moment I had the ability to start making fixes to things on the server, it completely changed how I felt about Iron Gate. Because now, I truly am just happy about Iron Gate. They've made such an awesome game, and it has problems and mistakes, but now people like Yer have made mods that have opened up the world so we can start adjusting mechanics. And here's one of those mechanics. It's this little inconspicuous barrel right there in the corner, the unlabeled one. Yeah, that's it. This is what we call a nonsense chest. You see, when I first go near a base or start working on it, I personally am quite disorganized. It takes me a while to build up a system and get organized. And one of the things I try and do in general with game design is question whether we really need 2D UI elements as often as we think we do. And in many ways, I believe that we're missing out on a lot of fun, interesting, immersive experiences by our almost zealous reliance upon 2D UI elements. So many things that I try and learn about in Path of Magic have been about how to use less 2D UI time. So one of the things that I've learned is that in a game like Valheim, there's not that much time seeing something like this, the beauty of the game that itself has to offer. Because so often you're in this kind of thing, and then scrolling through these kind of things, or then maybe looking at, this kind of stuff, or possibly these kind of things when you die, and you see how you lost so much, all of this kind of stuff, and then, you're always doing these kind of things, and then you got to make a lot of those kind of things because that's not enough, so you need more of these kind of things and those kind of things, and you can make it look all pretty, but you're forced to, and that's kind of the issue. Do we really need to force the players to be so organized? Otherwise, punish them by spending so much time in the game of 2D UI management? Now, don't get me wrong, I know what negative space is. I love negative space, I use it all the time, but I think we're missing out. We're too reliant on these and those, and we really need to get more of this. It's not the player's fault that we don't give them options to accomplish things while looking at the world in its full 3D beauty. And that's where this became so meaningful for me, because I get to practice all of these different things, and I'm not a programmer, I'm not a coder. I'm familiar with it a bit. I understand the nuances of some things and the differences between like really basic binary languages and assembly line stuff and more client later on stuff, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I'm not a coder, but I'm able to make things, and I'm able to make things that are fun and interesting that have made Valheim, for me personally, so much more meaningful. Because before, I would just have these experiences, I could only theorize, I couldn't test it and then have people play it and see how it goes, or play it myself. But now, thanks to Expand World Prefabs, I've been able to test so many theories and ideas on this public server, and people have actually played it and told me what it's like, and I've gotten chances to play things myself, and I've learned so much in the past year about game development. And what's so cool about it is you get to learn something that's normally quite expensive. You get to see what people actually do, players of a game. That's crazy. That's normally hard to find. But here we are in a world where you can have an idea and then within 30 minutes or an hour, put a script on a server, and then boom, people can try the idea out. It's often not that complicated, and you can make really simple things do crazy stuff. As I mentioned, I have issues with 2D UI elements. I don't like how often we need to search through things and do all this and that. Don't get me wrong, I know that you can use mods to bypass these things, but I want to learn more about, from the game design perspective, how to not even make it necessary in the first place. And that's where this barrel from earlier comes in. This is a nonsense chest. Every base can have one nonsense chest every 200 meters. This is something incredibly simple to implement, but it can have long-term ramifications on how people actually build a base if the players know to use the mechanics. And here is our nonsense chest. We can open it up and see that we have so much space in this thing that there is a scroll bar for it. Yeah, there's something like 350 slots of nonsense you can move around. It's basically a whole base worth of stuff that you can fit in one chest. Now, I hear you. Some people immediately will think about reasons that won't work. And you know what? That is a perfect transition into the next point about game design that you can learn with Valheim. And that's that you're always wrong. I'm always wrong. Your thinking is always wrong. Here's the reality with game design. You gotta try the idea and see what people do. You gotta put it in the game and see if people use it. You gotta use it yourself. And then you can reflect on those experiences and learn what's really going on. You can listen to players give you feedback upon their experiences and know what's really going on. That's how you can encounter the most effective mechanics, the most enjoyable experiences. It's not by coming up with some great idea yourself without playing the game. It's by listening to experiences that you and others have after implementing ideas. Trust me, if you think that you know how something's going to play out, you won't. It's not going to work out that way. It's always player behavior and activity that reveals the truth about something. Ultimately, the mechanics show you, they show the players if they work or if they don't. And then you adjust them based on those experiences. And over time, those adjustments create polished, effective scripts that bring joy out of this incredible game. Here, for example, I'll just show you a little bit. This is just the data scripting for Path of Magic. And there's like 10,000 something lines. And then that's not even all of them. That's actually only 1/3 of the scripts, because most of the scripts are prefab scripts, and let's just say it started with 1 or 2, and then there were 10, and then there were 15 or 20 or 30 or 50, and then there's so many scripts I can't even find the scripts, and I have to start actually organizing the scripts because there's so many of them that I'm wasting my time getting lost in my own scripts trying to find the script that I'm working on. You know, that's kind of how it goes. But that's the thing. It opens up this whole new world, and I don't know how to find the words to explain it. So I know that this isn't really like a tutorial. It's more just me telling you that if you want to design video games, well, Valheim with EWP is so shockingly effective at getting experiences. I don't know. I would tell you to just do this. Like listen, here's how it is. If you're trying to make a game, you're competing with millions and millions and millions of people, arguably hundreds of millions of people, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to compete with people. You're not going to do something better than that many people. Someone else out there, maybe tens of thousands of people out there, are always going to have a better product than you given the same circumstance. So what you need to do is figure out how you can have advantages that other people don't have, how you can create something that other people can't create. Because the reality of game design is that it is incredibly time-consuming and/or expensive. And while it's true that we're entering a whole new era where individuals and small teams can output quality AAA level video games, especially powered with AI and all sorts of other stuff, that doesn't change the fact that everybody has access to these tools. It's an incredibly competitive scene, and you're going to be competing with loads of other people who are also using these AI tools. So don't get too rose-tinted about that's just going to allow you to fix everything. You still got to stand out. You you still got to do something differently. You still got to figure out how you can leverage your own advantages over others so that you can produce something that other people just can't do. That's the key to making a game effectively in this modern era. Inevitably end up replacing the game designers with marketers over and over again until you end up with Activision, Blizzard, etc., etc. And that's what I'm trying to get at with you. This is a way you can get the true game design heart, witnessing players try something that you wanted to test. That's the heart of it. Once you have that seed, it's like a plant or a vine. It grows and takes over and becomes habits that cause you to create things that you can't even comprehend at this point in your life, because creations like this are more than what you can currently imagine. The things that I've done with Palm, that we've done with Palm as a community, is so much more than anything I could ever imagine. And it's just been an experience so far. It's not some play-tested, polished, perfect product or anything. It's just a server with a bunch of scripts on it that has a community of people that has enjoyed it. And that has been a remarkable learning experience for me, all pretty much free. And that's crazy. It's such a good game development education. And so that's it for my rant now. I have other videos if you want to actually learn about the scripting. But if you don't get it now, like, I'm surprised you listened to the end of the video, but thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Maybe you left it on autoplay or something. But either way, that's great. But this video was more of a different one. It's not a direction I'm trying to go down. I just figured, why not do more of a kind of rant about the truth of it, the feelings, because I've been in a lot of, I don't know, not necessarily altercations, but situations with people who get a lot of the wrong idea about Path of Magic, the server that I run. They think I know what I'm doing. And in all honesty, I don't. Like, this is something that's happened. It's not even something I fully control. I don't even fully understand it. It's just something that I'm just not getting in the way of and working on whenever I can, because it feels real and meaningful and impactful, you know? So there's going to be problems. It's not like some magical game. I just randomly get inspired and dump scripts on things. But like, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I've adjusted the world so much, even I don't always know why something happens. But people don't necessarily realize that. And people will assume that you've done everything on purpose. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, if you want to support my work, then consider renting your own dedicated Valheim server. I use Zap hosting, and this is because they offer pre-configured BepInEx servers, and then you just have to plop in EWP and some other stuff, and you're good to go. You're ready to enter the scripting wonderland, where vanilla clients can join your server and have adjusted experiences that completely fundamentally confuse them because they don't remember installing any mods. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy, and check out some other Valheim content. Give this video a like if you want to support the Valheim scene. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.